Okay, this is a question from our audience. So how is it possible to ensure that advanced care nurses are knowledgeable about rare cancers? For instance, a melanoma nurse may never have heard of mucosal melanoma. So how do we build that knowledge in that workforce?
Yeah, it's a really complicated question, but I think that there's definitely evidence out there around having qualified nurses. That is, nurses that have not only registered degrees, so they're a registered nurse with a bachelor degree, but actually undertaking postgraduate degrees as well, because the learnings that nurses experience in those qualifications is around the ability to identify what the needs are of people specific to their areas of care and tailor their own educational needs and upskilling in that area to meet those needs. So there isn't a blanket approach really to educating our workforce across all of these complex conditions in relation to genomics and everything else. It's around ensuring that we have capable workforce, which I can assure you our registered nurses in Australia are some of the finest in the world, and they all have the capability to do that. So investment in their postgraduate training is important.
So why do you think we don't have enough qualified genetic counsellors in Australia, and what can we do about that? Is there something that can, attract more people into that field?
So that's also an interesting question around genetic counsellors and their role, and they do play a very important role in Australia, and we don't have enough of them. There are a number of issues, so their course training is actually quite intensive. We have a history whereby once upon a time you couldn't be a nurse and a genetic counsellor at the same time. So in fact, we had nurses leaving our profession to undertake genetic counselling, but then they didn't maintain their registered nursing status. That is possible now. So I think that there is an opportunity there whereby if you do need some additional subspecialty area, that nurses are probably well placed to gain that additional training. But also just to acknowledge that we need to have the conversation around, in our workforce, what role is it of the physician, what role is it of the nurse, what role is it of the geneticist and the genetic counsellor, and see that across us all we're meeting the needs of our population. But I think it is unrealistic to think that we're going to be able to train enough geneticists and enough genetic counsellors to meet the tsunami of what is going to be available to people with rare cancers and other health conditions across Australia. We need to think more around how can we leverage technology, how can we leverage our larger workforces to meet those needs, but also reserve the specialist training of geneticists and genetic counsellors for those very specialised situations. And so it's more around how can we navigate and facilitate access at appropriate times to those people?
Yeah, absolutely. And so what does a better world for rare mean to you?
For me with rare, the world is complex, and I suppose what from a nursing perspective, my hope would be that is everybody has the right information at the right time to make the best decision for them personally. And so sometimes that might mean that it isn't the information that they particularly want, but at least having that information at hand to make informed decisions is so important. So access to genomic screening technologies gives you that information early so you can make decisions moving forward around that.
And why do you think events like CanForum are so important?
Well, it's a wonderful collaborative environment, and you don't know what might come of it in terms of one idea might lead to another idea and spark something else. And so, it really is a coming together of like-minded people to solve really complex problems, and we stand a greater chance doing it together than on our own.